Guys, the day that everyone has been waiting for, the day that everyone was sure it was going to happen, came yesterday. Sony officially announced the closure of Firewalk. What a studio? The studio that developed Concord. I don't need to remind you here how much this game failed, but it really failed, like with capital letters. Sony did a terrible job here. They did a very terrible job with this game. The marketing was wrong, the game was terrible, the characters were horrible. This is basically an example on how not to produce a game, especially as a service. You know, in 2024 it arrived and the public boycotted, which was to be expected because the game was terrible. Well, I'm Sidwin and let me talk about the closure of Firewalk Studios. Not only that, Sony has also closed another that I will comment on later. They made an official statement that I'm going to read here with you and discuss it, okay? Sony has made an official statement on its blog. Well, it's not really just a statement, it's an email. A transcript. Here, a transcript of the email from PlayStation Studio CEO Herman Holtz, who sent this email to the Sony employees and says the following. Dear Sony team, today I want to share Sony. Well, I'm going to paraphrase the email to you, so in order you know what happened there. So let's do it. Dear team, today I want to share some updates from the studio business group of Sony Interactive Entertainment. We constantly evaluate our game portfolio and projects status to make sure we are meeting business priorities in the short and long term. As part of our ongoing efforts to strengthen the Sony Business Studio, we had to make a difficult decision related to two of our studios, Neon Coin and Firewalk Studios. Yeah, I can imagine how difficult it must have been to close a studio that made a terrible game. Yeah, sure, that was so difficult. And also that was the biggest failure in Sony's history. You know, they lost $4 million. 4, without counting the reimbursements and the marketing and all that. So yeah, it must hurt to close that studio. Yeah, sure. The game closed in less than 2 weeks and they had to give back money to everyone, as I told you before. Well, the email continues. Expand beyond PlayStation devices and create immersive online experiences alongside our games. These are important focus areas for us as we evolve our revenue streams. This, in fact, Sony is trying to expand its games to PC with single players, but it's also focusing on some multiplayer games. They have partnered with some companies, for example, with Helldivers 2, which they did very well on PC and probably very well on PlayStation. That was a game as a service worth even playing, you know? While Concord was a game to be forgotten, never to be remembered and never to be repeated, honestly. Well, they continue to say that we need to be strategic and take our games to new platforms and recognize when our games don't meet the expectations of players. And why it was not good? Because the numbers already show that the game obviously did not meet expectations. But will they take this feedback and carry it to other games and absorb internally these criticisms? Because, come on bro, be honest, let's be honest. Once they make those mistakes and are pointed out for that, then we see the studios trying again with these errors and mistakes. They do it on purpose, over and over again. Well, we want games like this and Sony has to take the criticisms and move on, right? Mobile remains a priority area for PlayStation. They say, we are in the earliest stages of our mobile approach. To achieve success in this area, we need to focus on titles that are in line with the PlayStation Studios pedigree and have the potential to reach more players around the world. So they are still focused on mobile, but now you will see how they close studies focus on that aspect. I seriously don't understand that. So I want to express my gratitude to all the union members for their hard work and inexhaustible passion for innovation. So the mobile studio is closed. They have made it clear that they still want to continue in this market. I don't know if this will really happen, they're closing down the studios. That's not a good sign. About Firewalk, certain aspects of Concord were exceptional, but others didn't attract enough players, and as a result, we disconnected the game. And the reason is, well, there are many videos analyzing why that game went really wrong. But the game didn't even reach 1,000 players at its launch. I think it reached between 650 and 690 simultaneously players in the stream. So that's too little for a video game that cost $400 million, come on! Then there was talk of a possible return from Concord out of nowhere after they announced the game closure and that they were going to give back money to everyone. They started updating their page every day. They started to rework the game code, and everybody started theorizing that they were reworking and updating the game to relaunch it. It was going to be like a Concord 2.0, but it looks like it's not going to be. After much thought, we have decided that it's best to close the game permanently and close the studio. I want to thank everyone at Firewalk for their craftsmanship, creative spirit, and dedication. So Firewalk is gone. Now I understand. I don't know if they're all going to be fired, but probably if they aren't, some will be resigned and hired to be placed in other studios. So, well, that's good. But we gamers, I have to say, we do not say thank you to them because, sincerely, the work done by developers, I will not generalize here, but brother, they were developers insulting gamers on Twitter, in social networks, calling aberration geeks who didn't like their game. Bro, seriously? I don't feel sorry for people like that attacking their own audience, their consumers who are out there spending money on their game. So, well, PvP is a competitive space that is constantly evolving, and unfortunately we have not reached our goals. With this title, we will take the lessons learned from Concord and continue to refine our live service capabilities to deliver future growth in this area. And as I said, I really hope they learn. And talking about game as a service, talking about games as shooter, today we have to keep in mind some concepts that will work better if they did. For example, let me explain. I have played Concord. I have already talked about the gameplay that is terrible and tried in beta. I did not like it, but some marketing and publishing game concepts must be taken into account today. For example, Overwatch was a paid game in 2016 and worked, but Overwatch 2, if it were paid, I don't think it would sell. That's why I think these kind of games have to be free to play, and Sony was running charging for this game. It had to be free. Maybe free the game will not work. I also agree on that, because there are other factors. The characters were horrible, you don't want to play with them, the gameplay is extremely old-fashioned, it looks like PlayStation 3, and there are other things that make Concord failed. I understand that. But doing it for free greatly increases the chances that people will at least come in. And if the game is good, they'll be good. I think that's the first point, the first fail they made. And another thing is that the genre shooter is already widespread today. There are several, lots of them. So it's very difficult for you to compete with those already on the market, who are already much better than you. I'm free. Marvel Rivals comes out at the end of the year and is a game that everyone hopes will fail. Probably Concord had no chance because it was very bad, and it still is. They continue saying, I know it's not an easy news to hear, especially with colleagues and friends leaving PlayStation Studios, but the decisions have been seriously considered, and we think they are the right ones to strengthen the organization. Neon Coin and Firewalk have sided with many talented people, and we will work to find work for some of the affected within our global community of studies whenever possible. And he concludes, it's a hard day, there is much to wait for in the coming month. I continue to be confident that we are building a resilient, capable, and resilient organization for a studio business group and our teams. It's a little complicated, we had just closed the studio in less than a week, driven by creating unforgettable entertainment experiences for our players. Thank you for your continued support. That was the official Sony release. Firewalk Studios is officially closed. There is probably no going back. Concord will not be revived. So we have $400 million game that is talked about on the internet as the worst game in gaming history. They lost $400 million. Oh my god! Well, Sony is a company that has a lot of money, so I'm not worried about that. But come on, $400 million. The important thing here, talking in a business perspective, those $4 million could have been spent on games like single players that we know Sony does much better. Well, in this case, the developers cursed the players, saying they were untalented geeks because they were criticizing their little game. So all the bad in these games, both in marketing and in gameplay, the game has closed. It's a game to forget. It's a moment when we realize that we, the players, are winning because we didn't buy the game. It didn't sell, and consequently, the studio was not long in closing. Now, companies will have to think twice before making a bad game because they know that the players will have the power and decide whether to go ahead or no with that game. So that's good, bro. Anyway, that's my opinion. All the information on the case. I'd like to know what you think too. If you are new to the channel, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications. I try to publish videos every day. So, well, nothing. See you on the next one. Bye.